Hey, welcome to June 24th. What are you doing in my room? Did I say you could come in here? No. But I mean, I guess I did invite you before, so generally, yeah, I could understand where you would come up with the assumption you could just come in here, so, hey, welcome to the room. How are we We're doing good. We've got a full belly, and we've also got, little completion coming back, you know, I feel like I'm beating stuff. Last night, I set out on a goal. The goal was simple. The goal was to beat Dead Space 2 in one session. Alright. Now, did I do it? You're fucking damn right I beat it. Now, crunch time comes in every once in a while where I'm thinking, alright, now this game is roughly 8 hours to 15 hours, so that means if I sit down now, start playing it from here to then, in the morning, I can beat the mailman, get that game up to the mailbox, and then the mailman can take it, and then he can go give me a better game. So, that's what happened. I was just like, dude, we gotta beat Dead Space, we gotta get that shit out, we gotta get it back to GameFly, we gotta get, Dead Space 3 is on there, Last of Us is on there, a couple other games, but mainly I wanted Last of Us or Dead Space 3, so there's that. I guess I could talk about how I felt about Dead Space 2, because I did like it, somewhat. I'm not sure if I liked it more than the first game, but it's pretty damn close. Alright. So, yeah. Dead Space 2 took me a little over 7 hours, I believe it was. I did leave the game on for a little bit there, so yeah, I would say it's anywhere between 6 and 8 hours. I've read a bunch of other forum posts where everyone says it's 8 to 12 hours depending on how much completion you do, like if you were finding every collectible and such like that. Mine was a fairly straightforward playthrough, just trying to beat the game, get it done and over with. Yeah. There's multiplayer, I didn't touch that, I don't want to touch that. It asked me if I wanted to buy an online pass, and I said, online pass, taloke, and then I just kind of hit single player. But, how do I feel about Dead Space 2? The story? Yeah, we can start with story. The story takes place 3 years after Dead Space 1. Basically, Isaac has been, I guess, hospitalized or institutionalized in this facility, and where basically a break-in happens where these guys are trying to get you out of there. The guy, of course, the team that comes to save you gets killed, and it honestly starts off on a really high note. You're in a straitjacket and you're getting chased by monsters, which is a really epic chasing for the most part. I mean, that area goes on for probably 5 minutes. It was really cool. But we basically figure out who this group of people is who are trying to rescue you, and of course there's a plot twist involving them, and we come across another person from the same like agency as you. Are you in was it an agency or what? I can't remember what CEC stands for, or was it CDC? CEC? I think it was CEC. But basically she's also in the same group that Isaac's from. And you guys together kind of set off to try to escape this place. And then there's those are like the two main characters. And it's hard, I use main character loosely. I guess a main character to me should have backstory, should have developed traits throughout the story. You don't get that with Isaac or what was the girl's name? Ellie. You don't get any backstory really on them. And then the other character who's pretty central to the story for the most part, and then just kind of tossed away. And he was another one of the patients with Isaac. There was I think there's 5 or 6 patients. They were all working on this ancient relic from the first game that you find at the very end of the first game. Basically, this thing was the whole cause of the events in the first game. It brought the aliens from the planet up to the Ishimura, which was the ship that you're on in the first game. And then at the end of the first game, you do something with it. I can't remember. Well, that, and I don't want to spoil it for you guys. So basically, 3 years pass. Isaac's doing stuff. Isaac wakes up. And for some reason, he's actually really strong now that he's woke up. You know, usually people who are like comatose or sleeping or just hospitalized for long periods of times, they get up and they take, you know, hours if not days to get their muscles all working again. And he's like jumping out of bed, getting chased by monsters and stuff. So I don't know. Story was extremely average. I think they could have done a lot with Dead Space, to be honest. You've got this you know, you've got a guy who can basically be comparable to Master Chief in terms of like epicness and like badass and just stylistic. His suit, it looks so awesome, you know, and they do a lot more with the suit. He's got like the transforming helmet, you know, it comes from his shoulders up around his head, really epic, much like Raiden from Metal Gear, or I can't remember. Did Deep Throat have that too? Grey Fox? I can't remember, but a very awesome suit. I love it. They just need to work on the characters and stuff. You know, the area of this game, though, it is pretty sweet. You start off on like a little bit of like a city type area. I still don't understand this. You're on like a moon city or something above Jupiter or something like that, or some colony, and then I don't know. The areas in this game are weird. So story, I'd give definitely a 0.5. It's not a solid one. It's average, so I'd 0.5 it. Gameplay, much like the first game, I found very small reason to switch weapons up. I pretty much used the plasma cutter, which is like your starting gun, up until chapter 14 of 15 chapters. So, you know, I basically fully upgraded that, fully upgraded all of my armor, and then I was just like, screw it, I'll get a bunch of other achievements. So I bought the line gun, the javelin gun, and then the saw gun, the cutter, I think it's called. Basically, one shoots a saw blade out, or you can hold it in place so you can just saw enemies in half. One of them shoots out like just big ass disc launcher things that can cut enemies easier. Its alternate fires a bomb, which is kind of weird. What the fuck? And then the javelin gun, you shoot javelins out that can electrocute enemies, which is pretty cool. There is a lot of weapons in this game. There's like 8, yeah, I want to say around 8 weapons. I didn't even use half of them probably, but 8 to 10, yeah, hands down around there. I didn't have a reason to really experiment with them. This game is very, I don't know, I don't want to say it's linear, but you know, it's just, I don't know. There's very little reason to try out weapons, you know. Especially considering the replayability is, I think you got to beat it twice or 3 times to get all the achievements. And there's New Game Plus, which is where you can bring your weapons to the next playthrough, which I guess maybe then you could do it, but I was just getting so much plasma cutter ammo that I was just like, I don't really want to switch to any of these other guns. You know, they feel more like power weapons, whereas the plasma cutter, it gets the job done. Those just, you know, they're mainly for like AoE, attacking out big crowds of enemies. And that's basically all I used it for. Was honestly the final boss. There's just so many enemies that I was just throwing bombs down and running away from her. But what is Dead Space gameplay? It's basically Resident Evil 4 in space. A lot of people make that comparison. They do change it up a little bit. Like there's zero gravity segments where the gravity goes off and you have to like float around the room and move stuff around and solve puzzles. There was no turret segment in this one. It's pretty straightforward. You basically just navigate through corridors. You hit your right analog in and it pops up a line that shows you where your next path is. So you just kind of follow that line from point A to point B to point C, then back to point A again, and so forth. Upgrading is basically the other main mechanic. You loot enemies and you'll get like power nodes, I think they're called, and then you can find stores and workbenches and save points. Those are like your 3 focal things. So you go to a power bench or a bench, and then you can use your power nodes to upgrade your weapons and your armor and stuff. The stores where you can sell junk, which you do find junk. It's treasure pretty much. They're what the hell were they called? The conductors. You find these conductors that you can sell for money. But personally, I was just selling ammo. I only use the plasma cutter, like I said, for 90% of the game, so I just sold all of the ammo I got. And I had enough to fully upgrade everything. You know, I had the best suit in the game. I had my plasma cutter maxed, my armor maxed. And then I was able to max like half of one of my other guns. Yeah. I don't know. It's a decent game. Gameplay though, yeah, I'll give it a solid 1. It's pretty fun. It gets really hectic sometimes, and it actually made me jump a couple times, which is pretty good. It's a pretty good survival horror game in that sense. But I don't know. I think they could have done a lot more with it. Sound design, I'm giving it a 1. I mean, I don't know about the music because I turned that shit off, but definitely the sound effects. From the moment you meet the lurkers, I think it was the lurkers. The first time you meet lurkers, man, I was like, oh shit. And then, you know, just all of these monsters, they sound so cool. I love listening to them every time. They're just like, what the hell was it? I think it's the guy with the, his one arm is like swollen up into like a big pus bomb. And he'll like swing his arm down at you, so you've got to like shoot his arm off or shoot the bomb itself. Those guys make some really weird sounds. Them and lurkers, man. They're creepy, man. That's all there really is to it. Gun sounds cool. I don't know. Just these dark, really nasty ass corridors covered in blood, and you hear these monsters rattling around in the vents and stuff. It's really cool. But like I said, I give it a solid 1 there. I give the game, you know, a 2.5. That's all there really is to it. It's 2.5. It's not amazing, but it's not perfect, you know. They need to work on that story a bit more for me to really say, like, damn, this is a good game. Because you don't feel anything. Like, the only thing I really felt was near the end of the game when a certain thing happens and they kind of fake you out a little bit there. Credits start rolling and you're like, damn, that's shitty, man. I'm sorry. But then, no spoiler. I like the ending of the game, though. They definitely set it up for a sequel, which I heard the third game does too, which the third game, I guess, sucked, so it's not getting a sequel. So I don't know. That's my Dead Space 2 thoughts. I think I've got to get to work. What time is it? Oh yeah, we've got 10 minutes. I'm going to end it here. So, hey, if you like Resident Evil or Dark Sector, I mean, I would give it a try, definitely. These games are pretty cheap. The first game is not cheap, though. That game is pricing up, man. Spiking in price. Alright, we're 12 minutes in. I've got to end this bad boy there, buddy. And I'm going to hit up a little bit of boo.